Take it.
Great. Good evening at 6 o'clock, the public meeting in order. Please
All
rise.
right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Before we get started, let's just acknowledge the passing of Deanna Dudley, spouse of one of our fire members and member of the auxiliary, Jonathan Dudley's wife. May she rest in peace.
Sorry to hear about
We
it.
also lost a kindergarten teacher at Menands School, Sarah Maldonado. She also lost her adult's cancer.
Thanks.
It's too bad. I'm sorry.
I'm going to give an update on South End project. No one's here from South End except for Mark. Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry. I'm sorry. The only two people who want to come up. Okay. Sorry about that. But I will give it, but first we're going to do an update with Lieutenant Schwebke about the speeds that were observed, because Kevin is at a conference with the chief and has a important kickoff dinner to go to. So Kevin, you wanna?
Hello. Absolutely. Thank you for helping. Let me get on so quick.
Take it away.
All right. So if we just go over Kingston, we did the first study on Kingston. We saw a total over the week was 3,564 cars. It's a little difficult on that area. Just to put the speed trailer and still get readings. So the accuracy of that is we believe that's pretty good. There could be some anomaly to it, but that's where we think we're pretty good at there. The average approaching speed was 15 miles an hour. The average receding speed was 16 miles an hour. The fastest speed was 41 miles an hour. Approaching, and the rescinding was 35. On the weekend, there was 13 speeders. During the week, there was 85 speeders. There's a total of 98 speeders. Which
Out of 3,000.
Kev, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yes, out of 90, there was 3,600 cars. 98 of them were speeding. 93 of those were between 31 and 35 miles an hour. So there was only 4 over the total of the whole week that were over 36 miles an hour, and only 1 that was 41 miles an hour.
Kev, are we able to tell on the weekday ones what time?
Not specifically. We see the call volume, or we see an increased volume of cars. We don't necessarily document, when those speed. It's just there's speeders and then there's volume. It's not an overlap.
Yep, got it.
I think it's just important to put out that there was obviously some speeding as well on the weekend, which wouldn't necessarily dictate that those same cars possibly are coming in all week.
Which again, can you repeat those numbers?
The how many speeders or?
Yeah, the weekend versus weekday.
Yeah, so obviously on a 2-day period there was 13 speeders, and then on the weekday, which obviously is a 5-day period, is 85. So it's roughly less than 15 a day. So coming and going. So you break that down. If it's the same people, it could be maybe 7 cars or 6 or 7 cars, and if you subtract the weekend from that, it could be really just 3 or 4 cars on average, obviously.
Okay.
So there's 1 car that went 41 miles an hour over the whole week, 4 of them that went over 36 miles an hour, and then 93 were in that 31 to 35 mile an hour range out of the 3,600.
And the average speed was?
Approaching the speed trailer was 15 miles an hour, and the receding speed was 16. So driving away from it.
Kev, can you email me the statistics? So I can just make sure I am in the minutes.
Absolutely.
The speed trailers where now? Kev?
It's the Broadway right now. We did the rest of the streets in the south end. Well, we did Wolford and Amsterdam. Amsterdam had 5,300 cars, total vehicles, over the whole 7 days. The average approaching speed was 17 miles an hour. The receding speed was 18 miles an hour on Amsterdam. And sorry, I can do Wolford real quick here for you. And Wolford had a total of 7,250 cars. The average speed was 21 miles an hour approaching, and receding traffic was 24 miles an hour for the median speed. And the maximum speed was 39 miles an hour approaching and 46 on receding.
Okay.
But most of those, out of the 800 or 900 speeding cars, 783 of them were between 31 and 35 miles an hour. Only 18 of 7,000 were over the speed of 41. I can,
Yeah, we'll share all of that out.
yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
The majority of the cars in that study approaching the sign versus, is it majority of them approaching?
No, so that's what he was
It takes both
Yeah.
sides.
approaching and rescinding, so he was giving us,
The majority of them approaching the sign.
oh,
Kevin, does it break that down?
Of the speeders, you mean?
Now, the total cars, does it break it down? How many are going towards this trailer besides leaving the trailer?
So like on Wolford, for instance, the approaching traffic was 3,144. The receding traffic was 4,106. So almost even, I guess. Not exactly. On Amsterdam, it was 2691 approaching and 2619 rescinding. So that's pretty even. And Hendrick was 1827 approaching and 1737 rescinding. So they're pretty close. Seems like Wolford has the most thorough through traffic by maybe 1,000 difference.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Kev, do you think when people see the speed reader, they tend to slow down a little more than they, normally would when they?
I mean, the documentation shows that there's usually more speeders rescinding, so they see the back. They're looking at the back of it. They're not looking at the LED, sign posted.
so they think it's not tracking.
Yeah.
More than likely that's what they're thinking.
Okay, Kev, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, just quick, Wolford of the speeding, the people approaching it was 180, and there's 790 that were receding that were speeding. So mostly speeding that were driving away or passing it that didn't think it was being read.
Is that going uphill or downhill? So,
The thing was at the bottom of it.
yeah, so that's why it's called.
We gotta go slow right now, Wolford anyway, the bottom of the hill is,
Yeah.
it's a mess, right? Even if the thing wasn't out there, no one would do more than 20 miles an hour.
Same thing with Amsterdam, so you gotta
It's
go
a
like
tough-
this, otherwise you're gonna blow out your tires.
And with the cars parked on the streets as well.
So right now it's on Broadway. So if any, we're just going to be moving it around to try to get a recording from every street possible. But if there's somebody that has a suggestion and wants it somewhere else sooner than we get there, we can do that as well.
Okay, thanks, Kev.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
See ya.
You too.
Okay.
South End?
South End. So just to kind of recap everybody as to where we are. 6 years ago, we started a journey to redo the water and sewer throughout the entire south end. When we first went out to bid this and get funding for it, it took 2 years, 2 different applications to get the score high enough so that we got the project funded of just shy of $11,600,000. The grant piece of that was about 6,200,000, and the rest of it was going to be funded through borrowing. Well, since that, we had COVID, and we had a hyperinflationary period. So to do this project in the same scope today is over $17 million, $17.2 million. So that leaves basically a $5 million hole. So the question is, how do we fund that? So we went through Labella and tried to think of ways to bridge that gap. And we wrote to literally everyone here to Santa Claus to try and ask for funds to figure out how to fill that $5 million hole. So one of the things that we work with Labella on is to do basically a phasing approach. The most expensive piece by far is the Amsterdam-Wolford piece. Okay, the lines are bigger, and the road is more deteriorated. And so this section is the much more expensive piece. So we said to ESC, who's the group who financed this whole thing, what if we said that we will take the funds to do this piece, okay, give you this piece back, and then reapply to new funding, which actually will then give the village a higher percentage of reimbursement rates. For water, it's 50%, or it's 60%, sorry. For sewer, it's 25%, okay? So of the water project piece, we're getting 60% funding here, but we're only getting 25% on all of the sewer. Well, to rebuild the entire road, which is what has to happen here, because we have to dig up the entire road to fit both the sewer line and the water lines. That's the expensive piece of this entire project. On this piece, we would reapply. There's new money under the BIL, like ours in infrastructure law, and we would get 50-50. While we would be giving up to 10% on the water piece, we would be getting 25% on the sewer piece. So in total, if they allowed us to do that, basically give back the original grant on this piece and then reapply under the new program, we would end up borrowing less. Okay, we would rescope this because now we know the true cost of things using today's prices, and we would actually end up borrowing less. Right? We proposed that back in February. It took them 4 months to give us an answer. The answer is, you may use all of the money that you were originally given, and you may use it as far as it'll stretch, but that's it. It's an overly competitive bidding process. It's oversubscribed, meaning there's more need than there is money. They said, however, you may not apply for new grants on anything that was originally in the original scope. So basically, we're SOL. So what do we do? So basically, what we're going to do is use the money that we have allocated to us and try and stretch it as far as it will go. The main parts that are the worst are obviously the Wolford Amsterdam section, and then up Hendrick. And then because we have to work bottom up because of gravity and the way that everything flows, we're going to do as much as we can and then figure out where that leaves us. So that's where our bidding documents are getting prepared to try and figure out, with the money that we have allocated, the $11.6 million, what that will accomplish. The reality of it is, it is where we are. They will not, under their policy, allow us to be granted a waiver. We are trying to talk to the governor's office to try and see if we can, get them to rescind that policy because of the, the extraordinary circumstances, if there's ever a time where that should not be the policy, this is it. So we have written to Chuck Schumer's office, Senator Gillibrand's office, and Paul Congo's office, and they have included that $5 million gap in their budgetary requests for 2025's budget. Now, who knows who's going to be in control in 2025? And whether that funding will be kicked in its total. At best, we're hoping we can get half of that. So that's $2.5 million. The other $2.5 million, either we have to reduce the scope, change some of the details of the cost, or borrow more. Those are our options. Borrowing more, obviously, will end up making us have to increase rates to fund that debt. So, while it seems ridiculous, the reason we scored well here, is to, this is a densely populated old section of the village. We scored well. Why we are not equally worthy now, $7 million or $5 million more expensive? I can't answer that question. Neither has EFC been able to answer that question for us. So there's different things that we can do cost-wise that absolutely will adjust how much we can stretch this. One of those that we're looking at is removing granite curbs and going to a concrete curb. That reduces the expense by 400, 500,000. So basically that could be the difference between doing an extra section of Hendrick, Kingston, Walling. That's how far that could stretch us. So we're looking at those different options. We should have that data back in the next month, 2 months with Labella. And then we're going to come back and talk about it. Timeline here is the bidding documents should go out in this fall. We should receive them over the holidays. They should be awarded early this coming next year. And then as soon as, if it's a good winter, they should be starting in March. Digging as much as we can do from funding that we have. That's kind of where we're at.
Have we exhausted all sources of funding?
That's
revenue?
correct. Yes, there is only a limited number. The programs that we've applied to are the programs that are out there. That's it. So.
I have a question about how the roads are now. Is anybody, I'm just worried with winter, with more asphalt. Right now we have literally, you can lose your car in a couple of the spots on Wolford and Amsterdam.
So we're just gonna do patching on Wolford towards the end. That's it. Some spot patching, and then
National Grid's gonna be going within 2 weeks to go up, and where they did all the line work, they're gonna mill and redo that part, so it should make it a little bit better.
on Amsterdam.
Well, I'll tell you, you know where my perennial garden is that sits on the side. There are literally holes that are this deep, and about 6 of them right there.
They'll go and they're gonna patch those. I think Mike was gonna do that
This week.
this week.
I'm just concerned with winter coming and salt.
We're not repaving the road. There's no way we're gonna spend.
No, I don't
money.
think you would repave the road.
We're
if you're
just gonna patch.
this.
We're gonna throw some patch down and hope for
Correct.
that.
I have several questions.
Sure.
I live on Wolford Avenue. Is there, I don't expect the whole streets to be paved or anything like that, but maybe you could do the square Mercy paving so that the patches they put in last longer than a week or two, or by the next thunderstorm, they'll be washed out. The cars right over, it'll wash out. The top of Amsterdam, that little alley there, it's very bad there. It's very bad at the bottom of Wolford. I mean, you can only go around so much. Maybe, at the bottom of Wolford, one side of the street is in good shape. Maybe there could be temporary no parking signs. So the guy who has the Airbnb or whatever there, maybe people don't park on either side so that you can go around that mess. I don't know about the top of Amsterdam. I went up it the other day. It was terrible. And
Amsterdam's a mess. Oh, mess.
it's just, and I also know that he's mentioned about over going through the, National Grid gas thing or no.
They haven't, I've asked them several times if they said they're done, but I'm not sure what they're talking about. But
So,
so they think they're done with that.
Chuck?
Last year when they came in and put the cold patch in on all that concrete that they did on Amsterdam, the first plow that went by, it ended up on the right of way. And my property and Emil's property and all the properties up the hill on Amsterdam. It was just pushed aside and came right up on the right of way. It's still there. And there was a water main break out in front of my house. I come back from Yellowstone last year and it was September. Now it's an 8-foot hole, 8 foot wide, 8.5 foot wide hole. And that was a water main break and that had nothing to do with the National Grid. But now it's getting deeper and wider every day. That sheep was complaining about it because he couldn't go running. He gets gravel in his shoes and he can't run. I know it's not a big deal, but that thing's been there for almost a year.
I'll check on, I'll ask Mike in the morning.
I have a question. Now, you said that Mike and his crew's gonna patch up some of the parts of those streets. What kind of patching materials are they gonna use?
Hot patch.
Like, will it be made of oil products? That's
Yes, that's how it's made.
because I have always been advocating, using waste gravel, waste cement and waste oil-based products in repairs of our streets, sidewalks, parking lots and sidewalks. Thanks. I appreciate the answer.
So bottom line, you're $5 million short, right? Because there's no guarantee of the 2.5.
So, I wouldn't say that yet. We asked for $5 million because, under the current cost estimates, using the original scope exactly as putting everything back the way that it was originally planned, it's gonna be about $5 million.
So if you look at the impact of what, borrowing $2.5 million,
Yes. Tolerable.
Sorry?
Tolerable. More than that becomes more challenging, and that's the argument that we're making. So the question is, how do we continue to diminish that $2.5 million of borrowing so that it becomes more and more tolerable? So one of the answers is removing the concrete or the granite curbs. Okay, granite curbs are going to reduce that amount. Why? Because they can do half the street in a day versus a block a week by having to set each piece in concrete, wait for it to cure, then coming back and backfilling it. So the difference is monumental as far as cost.
So you're saying it's cheaper to just do them all in concrete than resetting?
Absolutely.
Just like they did a work truck.
Yes. Nobody's using granite. In fact, Albany, you cannot ask for granite sidewalks anymore, or curbs anymore.
That's so much price.
Yeah.
Is there any downside to the concrete?
You chip up on a plow.
Yeah, upside to that is they're easily repairable. Yeah, so, right? I mean, concrete is, so.
Maybe don't need the curbs.
Right, so, that's an option that we're gonna price out, technology point. We're gonna price out concrete curbs. We're gonna price out just using wind wedges. And then see where that lets us fall as far as cost. And then the board will do some analysis and look at those different options. So that's kind of where, what the exercise we have to go through. So back to the $5 million. If somebody was to write us a check today for $5 million with what we have already, we could do the project exactly as originally planned and pay for the increased cost using a cost estimate from 6, 7, 8 months ago. From what I've heard, prices have actually come down. So, Lavella Labella helped, bid out a job in Fort Edward that they expected to come in at $1 million, and it came in at, what, 750, 800? Is that what Ruben said, or Ted said? Why? Because a lot of municipalities are in this exact same problem where they have projects that they started years ago that aren't going forward because they just don't have the money. So the contractors are more hungry, and so prices are coming down. We could get lucky. That 5 million could become 4 million just because of prices coming down. And so, you know, the $500,000 for granite sidewalks. So, you know, we're chipping away. Those are the options we got to look at. Chuck.
I understand that National Grid hasn't come through and done any of their infrastructure on Wolford at all right now. It hasn't been done, gas mains, that sort of thing.
They did that last year. They did that last year.
On Wolford?
On Wolford, yes.
Okay, all right, so.
That's what they said they were done with.
They said they were done.
So I'll double check with them
But
again.
we're gonna,
My house was not done.
you did not have,
Either of my
no,
rentals.
a new gas main did not come in.
Correct. Either of my rentals on the, done, all three of them on the, they did not.
They are gonna be notified that this is your last chance because there's a 5-year moratorium once our road gets done.
Well, that's to my point, is if, you know, Wolford hasn't been done with National Grid yet, wouldn't it make sense to do the other ones, Amsterdam and Hendrick and the side roads and stuff like that, with what you've got?
No, because the system doesn't work like that.
Okay.
It's all, Wolford and Amsterdam have to be done first because of the way things flow.
Did I just ask, I don't know what she said, the third type of curb.
Oh, I just said Menands Road didn't get any.
When, which?
Would be, it would be a curve, it would be
Blacktop edge.
blacktop edge.
So it just basically rolls up
That
on
doesn't
the,
work on 30-degree pitch or whatever our streets have.
That would change.
We would get the specs from our engineer. That's, no matter what contractor we use, there's a certain portion that goes toward engineering. We'd make sure that whatever it is proper for that.
Slow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the way the water runs, that's half the problem now, why the water patch and washes out. Because the water runs down the street, major hills.
And our engineer is separate from the contractor anyway, so it's no skin off the engineer's back, so they make sure that it's the right specs.
there's also some things that we can look at adding to that are creative and controlling the amount of water, for instance, on Columbia Street in Cohoes. They have, that's a steep pitch. They have some rain gardens that actually the water flows into and it stops that washout type of the rainwater, plus it absorbs the rainwater. So, it would look, it's an option that we can look at.
Broad rainwater bleed, that's what they do.
A few of those could help with that, that sliding down of absorbing water and so it's something we can look into for installing those for stormwater related piece of it. Okay. Let's go regular board meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the July 1st, 2024 board meeting.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Warrant, I have a warrant number, I apologize, I think it's 3, but don't quote me on that. General, $73,037.95. Water, $8,080.69. Nothing in sewer, totaling $81,108.64.
118. 118.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay, sorry. My fault.
Okay. And, payroll was $115,176.28, and if no transfers.
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Matt, you're up.
Evening, buddy.
Good evening.
All right, so this, the village board is considering adopting local law number 4. That's the correct number, right?
Yeah.
So a few months back, Albany Rural Cemetery, contacted the village to let them know that they're going to need to replace their existing crematorium. They identified the parcel, and upon review, we realized that that parcel still was zoned R1. Which would not allow for cemetery related uses. So we proceeded to prepare a zoning map amendment for that parcel, which is a 11-acre parcel owned by the Albany Rural Cemetery. So they were obviously informed of that zoning change, and that would be necessary to work out there. There was also a 36,000 square foot portion of a 11-acre parcel owned by National Grid that was contiguous to this, that was also zoned R1. The remainder of that parcel, all owned by National Grid, is zoned Broadway Business District. So we propose to rezone that from R1 to Broadway Business District. That parcel is occupied by the overhead power lines. That's the only use on that. And it's more of a house cleaning, just getting it full parcel, full 11-acre parcel zone to Broadway Business District. So local law number 4 seeks to amend the zoning map as described. Albany County Planning Board signed off on it, but they did ask we coordinate with the State Historic Preservation Office because Albany Rural Cemetery is on the National Register of Historic Places. The State Historic Preservation Office responded by saying the zoning amendment will not have an adverse impact, but that cemetery or that the village rather should refer anything to SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office, before any ground disturbance. We informed Albany Rural Cemetery of this, and did note that any work that they do out there only requires a building permit. However, we suspect that the state's going to require them to contact SHPO anyway, because the crematorium needs to go through a state review. But we'll coordinate and make sure that everything that they do is consistent with what SHPO had requested. So no adverse impacts are anticipated. We prepared the seeker negative declaration and combined that with resolution for approval that the board has for them. It'll be filed with Department of State upon approval, and they'll send a response to Albany County Planning Board just to let them know what the final decision was. So generally, it's primarily just a housekeeping item, but we have to go through the process to get this done.
So Matt, after the adoption of this resolution and this would be on the next meeting for a public hearing.
No, you already had those. Yeah. We're all set. We just have to vote on it.
This is
Okay, so within the body of what we have in front of us, it's referred to as local law number 2.
Right.
That's okay.
That's why
Because since we did all this, we had a couple things go by, it just didn't get changed, so.
that's why.
So it was introduced as local law number 2. It's now local law number 4.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any reason why we should not approve this?
Just housekeeping. Cleaning up the zoning map.
When is the crematorium going to be replaced?
Where?
When?
Oh, that's up to the cemetery. I think they had started the process back in March, and that's when they contacted the village. And then we realized that parcel was not zoned properly.
Mm-hmm. So they have to stop doing it?
No, I anticipate it's a long process for them.
Will be historic and.
Yeah, the fact that it's historic registered property, and that building the crematorium sure has a lot of steps, environmental analysis that cemetery and the state are handling. All they'll need from the village is once they get the state's sign off, is a building permit. that either Lyle or Lyle and Labella will help review. So
How long will it take to replace that crematory?
that I don't know.
Like 2 years?
I really, I couldn't tell you. That's up to them. I think it's still operating, but it's gotta be replaced, so.
I agree.
What, do we have to read the entire resolution, Don?
I think it's gotta read.
Whereas, or now therefore? All right, who wants to?
The part you want?
Now therefore.
Okay, let me just read the intro to it. A resolution of the Village of Menands Board issuing negative declaration for secra and adopting local law number 4, right, of 2024. Local law amending the Village of Menands zoning map, chapter 169 zoning of the Village of Menands code by rezoning tax map parcels 44.14-1-1 and 44.14-2-1. Now therefore be it resolved that Section 1, the Menands Village Board adopts attached local law number 4 of 2024, a local law amending Chapter 169, the zoning of the Village Menands Village Code by rezoning tax map parcel 44.14-1-1 and 44.14-2-1. Also, Section 2, the Menands Village Clerk is hereby directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting, shall file the local law with the Secretary of State, shall publish a summary once in the official newspaper, and post a copy of the local law at or near the main entrance to office of the village clerk.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So we'll reissue a zoning map and also update the GIS system to reflect that.
So I'm marking agreed and approved.
That's your notes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Hey, have a good vacation. That won't be here for next meeting.
What's next, Don?
Have a good time, Matt.
Sidewalk there, Brookside, Manham Road.
Okay, hold on. So the sidewalk, we're gonna table that. We're still working on, the kickoff meeting for the ADA compliance survey, which Mark is going to help with, so we'll table that discussion. Moving on to the mayor's report.
You got it? The other side.
Yeah.
There you go.
Huh?
The communication.
Yeah, so, in order to communicate effectively, we have to have all of our communications all on one page. So tying the website to Everbridge, to Facebook, to, our flyers, etc. I'd like to bring that all into one unified position. And, Mark's son, Jason, does this professionally with Catholic Charities. He manages a lot of their content stuff on Facebook and their website. So I would like to create the position of communications coordinator. I included a job description, and basically the stipend for doing all of that work is based on a number of hours per week. I created at $5,000, which is twice what Nicole made, but Nicole was as a stipend, but Nicole's piece was managing the village Facebook page and doing some flyers ad hoc. This will be more communicating with Everbridge and working more unified with our web host provider on directly posting some of that content to Facebook in a more timely manner than just during the week like it is currently. So this would come under the office of the mayor. The line is already there. It's where Meg's salary used to be. We moved that out of where was that line? Economic development. we moved Meg's stipend for events coordinator to celebrations, I believe. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I just wanted to see what, the board thought about doing that.
I think this is absolutely needed. From talking to people at the NICOM annual convention, every municipality that I spoke with has one of these, whether it's to create press releases, which is important, all the great things that we're doing. So many people don't.
But they won't be writing the press releases.
Yeah,
I mean,
it says they will.
will they be writing the press releases? or
Says,
just-
We're gonna work
prepare and distribute.
collaboratively on, you know, on.
Because I don't
on
want to see a
content.
situation where somebody's sending out stuff that hasn't been vetted or, you
Well,
know.
right, but I think that's done in cooperation. Like North Colony has I can't remember the woman's name. Used to work at Channel 13, and that person does those for the superintendent. And of course, they get reviewed before they're sent out, but at least they get them ready. So I mean, there's obviously going to be a chain of command,
Yeah.
but I think that's certainly needed in not only getting out information, but getting news out there. I think it's very important to do that. And I could see over time that position getting bigger.
So that's kind of that's the direction I'd like to go with that, you know, that role. I think it's, you know, sending out notices about water breaks and as well as all the community events. It needs to be to one designated person, so the message is unified. And that's what my goal is to improve the communication that we do as a village. I think it's needed. So, you know, that's kind of what I want. So.
Have you tried to use AI to help you coordinate this so that?
Look at you, technically.
I gotten into AI lately.
Yeah. So, the answer is yes, but it doesn't take away the human interaction.
I know.
piece of it,
Right.
You know, so it's.
No, I know you have to do that.
Right, you know. But, this would streamline the process so that there's one person who
Yes.
puts out all of the communications for the village, whether it be to Facebook, whether it be in an email, whether it be on Everbridge, whether, you know, if it's on the webpage, that it all goes through this one person.
Yeah.
So,
Good job.
all right, we need, if someone wants a motion, that.
So I would like to make a motion to approve the hire of Jason Carnegie to oversee social media communication in Everbridge at a salary of $5,000 per year.
I'll second.
Thank you. Who's in favor? Any opposed?
This will be good for our village.
Jason lives in the village, so, you know,
Jeez.
Born and raised.
we know where to find him. So,
Jeez.
okay, what's next?
There's-
Okay, so bunch of things.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Again? What's been going on with the website? The last few Mondays in the morning, it's been down.
Was it done?
It was down this morning, yeah.
So
I knew about last week, I know about today. I will, Sean's in Puerto Rico, he's coming back tomorrow, or
Okay.
he's coming back one day this week. I'll reach
Every
out.
time I
Shoot him
try
an
it,
email
it
afterwards
works.
to find out what's going
Yeah,
on.
I haven't had an issue.
you'll tell him it's Monday mornings.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
unless it has a hangover, I don't know.
I was gonna say, Don, ask if it has a case of the Mondays.
Listen,
It seems like it's been the last 2 Mondays between 8 and 10. Seems like that's when it's been. Because I had someone text me today because they were looking to get the link for tonight.
Yeah.
And their website's not working.
I will find out.
Bizarre.
As soon as I hear from him, I'll show.
Yeah.
I'll copy all of you in the email.
Thank you.
Okay, so just going through a bunch of things. Chief Ryan and I went to the swearing in of the new Water Elite Chief, William Rice. We look forward to working with him and the city of Water Elite collaboratively. The Franciscan Ministries and the Daughters of Charity are creating, their senior housing complex is called the Providence. They're having an information session to show some of their models and talk about options to gauge public reaction. That's July 18th, this Thursday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's kind of a come and go and
That's a Wolford's Roost.
Wolford's Roost.
Is it 10 to 2 or was it a 10 o'clock and a 2 o'clock?
I'm sorry, you're
I think
right.
it's
You're right.
10
You're right, Molly. 10 a.m. or 2 p.m.
Where are those housing sites? Yeah, where is that?
This is gonna be the Daughters of Charity on Menands Road,
Oh, okay.
96, 98 Menands Road.
Oh, okay.
They just want to show the public what they're thinking as far as layouts and gauge what direction to go. So my mother will be there, I know, thank God. The CDTA is doing a survey for gauging transit needs for Route 32. That website is CDTA.gov. I don't know why it didn't show on my page. But it's a Route 32 Phase 2 transit development update. So if anyone wants to contribute their thoughts to that, I'm gonna print it out on my page. We're trying to figure out what enhancements to the Route 32 corridor transit they can make. Water bills went out and are due
August 14th.
August 14th without penalty. We had a kickoff meeting for the grant we received from Albany County Parks and Rec, the $19,000 for Oak Switzer Parks improvement. There was a press release that they sent out. So we're gonna start working with Labella on that. Going along with that, Matt and I are going to be participating in a call on Thursday to get some additional grant funding to pay for the equipment, like the stations, the sport, they're like equipment stations for working out, like
Yes.
along the path that MVP, what is it?
MVP.
MVP Healthcare
Yes.
has
Yeah.
funds available to actually do phase 2 of the project, which is to put that equipment out there. So that was kind of like just the luck of the draw. Like,
Are we putting like a neighborhood committee together?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the path is the first piece. I am working with the Colony Assessor's Office at this year's assessment challenges. There are a dozen of them. Some are every year participants, but we'll be working on that together. I should have tomorrow a proposal from the city of Albany regarding using their yard waste processing facility. This is to try and work through the problem that we had with DEC over the use of our leaf dump. I met with Sergio, the Commissioner of Department of General Services on Friday, and he seems to be agreeable to us at least figuring something out that the board will review and as a proposal. So that'll hopefully take care of that issue. We are working with Labella at creating or completing our lead line service survey. We had a meeting about that with Albany County Health Department today. Don and I and Tim were at the flag raising for 37 Simmons last week. It looks great from 787.
It really does.
Really,
Impressive.
yeah.
It really does.
It's quite an impressive flag.
I think it's as big as the one over at the flooring warehouse,
yeah.
in Albany.
It's 20 feet by 30 feet.
20 feet by 30.
That's pretty big.
Almost looked at Tony LaFari and Jody Havinger up in the air.
And
Wow.
my brother Kyle was the last one to let go. He was, they all let go, and he was like, wait.
Let's see, I had a meeting with the Albany County Alliance IDA group, and we are working on some funding potentially for an expansion at Simmons Machine Tool, which has been on hold for a little while. So more on that, hopefully very soon. The fan at the hood in Andrew Smith Park will be cleaned on
Tomorrow,
tomorrow or Wednesday.
16th, so,
One tomorrow morning.
yeah.
10 a.m.
Activities, no, or the.
Youth program,
No.
they know about it. We have been working on finishing the water diversion at the rear of the high service reservoir. And we still don't have a solid plan for that, but it has been better. The Labella has given us a proposal or the divers have given us a proposal to come back and do some exploratory work on the back chamber, which is the one that we believe is still leaking. They can do it this Wednesday. It's $5,800 for the day. For them to come back.
And they're confident they can finish in a day?
They're just gonna, it's just gonna
This
be.
is just to determine.
It's just to determine, yeah. It's just to determine, Yeah.
$800 to look anything.
Yes, yeah. It's because it's a diver, yeah. It's, we would like them to do some, you want to do it?
I have scuba gear,
Okay.
although Meg told me there were snakes in there,
Yeah.
so.
The amount of water we lose is probably significant from that back chamber. So basically, I think, this is worth the money.
Yes.
To try and figure out if we have a leak of some kind that we can plug in the back. Surely, I'm not advocating for us to do the same thing with the back chamber as we did with the front chamber, because it's 2 times the size. But I think sending the diver back down now that we've controlled the leak in the front, will perhaps give us some guidance as far as what leaks we may have in that back chamber now that we can focus on it as being the culprit. So, it's still leaking, so we need to try and figure it out. The only other option is to replace the tank, and that's $3 to $5 million. So I think in the grand scheme of things, if we save $5,800 worth of water by spending $5,800 worth of time, it's the last hurrah for that tank.
Do we need a motion for that?
We do need a motion.
Yeah, I move that we hire, what's the company?
Atlantic Underwater Services.
Atlantic Underwater Services to survey the back tank of the high surface reservoir for a day at a cost of $5,800.
Up to.
Second?
Vote in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Power outages. I've been working with National Grid to try and figure out what the story is with all the power outages for Sage Hill and Roos Estates. Any more? Just that one? They're blaming trees. And so I'm working with them to try and contact the homeowners of some locations in Sage Hill that had trees that that National Grid would like their contractor to trim. They can't do it without the homeowner's permission. So I've been literally knocking on doors, some of your neighbors, to try and get them to agree. A couple of them have. They did some work on Russo.
Yep.
The other day.
Yep.
So we're trying to figure out, eliminate every potential source of the outages, at least as far as trees are concerned. The rest is up to National Grid. I think that's it that I have. Board members, Tim?
Yes, this is for the board's consideration. Brian and I, we want to start moving forward now that the state has released the information about the EV charging grants. For those of you who are unaware, we received $16,467 to implement up to two charging stations we figured that we could do for that cost. We were looking, as you may know, at locations at 280 Broadway in the rear corner of the parking lot, at the village office, as well as up at the Ganser Smith Park, adjacent to the disabled parking. So there is one company that is local, that's pretty widespread in the sport, Livingston Chargeport, which is out of Schenectady, and they're on state contract. We had a discussion with one of their reps. He submitted to us a proposal that we could do charge stations at each of these locations for that cost, and included the fact that we could, they can work this so we can get funding through National Grid to pay a good portion of the costs of doing the infrastructure work. What it comes down to is that the overall cost for each location, it will overall be like $22,924, and we're getting $6,000. They're going to get 14 up. They think up to 14,000 from National Grid. So we're looking for the board to look at the information that was sent to say whether or not you guys think.
So basically, the way the numbers break down is each station, each site, is two chargers, right? So two chargers at the park, two chargers at the village office. Each set of chargers, they anticipate the cost to be $22,924. National Grid kicks in $14,000 of that. Then our out-of-pocket is $8,924. Of that, we apply the grant money. So basically, say it's $18,000. We end up paying a total of $2,000, the difference. So it's literally.
And this is the proposal, although he thinks that, as long as our services meet the requirements, so the service at the park and the service at the village office, which they have to send electricians to look at to make sure that they're up to par. They have to be 200
amp.
Yeah, 200 amp. And which we probably should be good with, but they're required to do it.
You have to worry about the office.
Yeah, probably maybe just the park.
I would be surprised if the park wasn't, also, fine. But in either case, we want the board to, look at it and say whether or not that you feel that moving forward with this proposal meets our needs. It's within our budget for what the grant was, and considering that the grant was submitted, 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
And that the cost hasn't gone up so much that it's priced us out already. I think this discount money that they can get through National Grid is extremely helpful, which I don't think either of us were aware of when we started talking to them about it. So, and if we can, Brian came up with a very good idea that instead of trenching to the rear of the parking lot, to do an overhead wire to the pole nearby. And so instead of digging, that'd be a much cheaper alternative to get this done. So it may not, be as costly as maybe they initially estimated, but either way.
So I have a question. I didn't get a chance to read it because it was sent over at like 5 o'clock.
Yeah, that, well, we didn't get a chance to meet with him. It wasn't available until, this afternoon, so.
Yeah, so the National Grid money, is that like they go and get an exact amount from National Grid before we agree on this, or we just like?
So
go
that was the
into
question
it
I
and
had,
pay
exactly.
that?
So how do we lock in what we're going to receive? My suggestion would be if we said we are comfortable with, the village was going to have to spend a match anyway, a certain amount. I think initially we were thinking 25%,
Yes. But somewhere in that area.
somewhere in that area. And so this is actually better than we had initially, initially thought. So, if we said that out of pocket, we'll spend a maximum of X. Okay, if this doesn't pan out, then we have to have another conversation about it. So say 2,000 a charging station is the maximum that we're gonna pay out of pocket.
Yeah. There is a cost per month though.
There's a monthly cost.
Software and there's monitoring.
The first 5 years is baked in to this cost. But after that, there's a monthly service cost. That we would have. Now, the difference is after 2 years, we can start charging for the service.
Yeah.
So years 3 to 5, the cost is covered, but we earn revenue on the, at least break
Yes.
even on the charging.
Yeah.
So, it's years 6 and beyond that we charge, yes, but we have to pay the software cost.
What's the usual charge when somebody goes to charge their car?
Tim,
My,
that's your
mine-
expertise.
Well, I've taken it to the Sagamore and charged all night. I think over 2 nights, it was like $15.
Oh, that's not
For
bad.
both nights?
Yeah, for both nights. Yeah, it's not hugely expensive. Now, I don't know if our cost is gonna be the same as their cost. I mean, they can, I think they have to calculate out what they need to charge for their particular system, very correct. So, but it's nominal. These are, even once we start charging, these costs are not gonna be astronomical.
It's the way of the
And more,
future.
and the idea is, as more people buy electric cars, we have the infrastructure in place to accommodate it.
Right.
And at the village office, if we ever get an electric fleet vehicle, we can charge it right there.
Yeah.
But in addition, people who live in the apartments there, or people maybe in proximity on Broadway will have access to it.
Yeah.
So.
So what per charger are we?
Oh,
2,000 per charger, maximum out of pocket? I don't know what number we feel comfortable with putting on.
I'd like time to read the proposal before we.
That's fine. Let's table this for our next meeting.
Okay.
Don?
Is that $2,000 per per place, or because there are 2 chargers at each site?
It's considered
like
per
4,000?
location.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it's 2,000 and 2,000.
So it looks like the out of pocket will be roughly 2,000 per location, so
Okay.
4,000.
Yeah.
If we could table it till, next meeting. Didn't we need to make a transfer for ARPA?
We already did that.
Yeah, we did that last week.
Okay,
We did it last week.
all right. Why was it?
It was because of, I screwed up.
All right. David, did you have something? Okay. Nick?
I did, just, in the wake of the shooting over the weekend, I just want to encourage all of us to do our part to lower the temperature in general, have civil discourse, not spread misinformation or defame others. And all of this will help us ensure the safety of our community and each person who lives, works, or visits Menands. I think that should be important to everybody here, and we can all do our part in order to do that.
Okay. Well, all right, public comment. We're gonna do this differently from now on. We're gonna use our podium. So if you would please step to the podium when you speak.
I didn't know.
Bill, go ahead.
Wait a minute.
After you get done, Paul Hargress raises his hand, he wants to say something. When he's done.
Bill, go ahead. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. I got a few issues. Now, since America's served their time defending our nation in good faith, they deserve our help in return. I do support the Soldier Upon Housing Project for veterans on Broadway, Menands. The second one. Now, since I still wish to propose planting new evergreen forestry trees in our village parks and playgrounds and other great property, that includes Switzer Pope Park. Now, I wish you know, if anybody know what stores or tree farms I can buy evergreen trees from?
No. George's?
Huh?
George's?
Where's George?
George's is on,
Latham.
Latham? Near Sam's, or there's Troy's up on Route 9 near Coe's.
Hewitt's.
Hewitt's on, Route 7.
Hi.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking about it. I'd like to try to do it myself, buy the trees during next year.
Okay.
To try to save the village time and money.
All right, well, let's coordinate that first, Bill.
Now, number 5 and 6, I'm not reading them, but I did report a couple of those problems to the Menands police, such as the fire hydrant and the 3 light green rail speed light markers, number 50, 51, and 52 on each side of Broadway. They're rusting and peeling paint. They need to be sandblasted, primed, and repainted, light green. Now, since I already had proposed constructing new wooden guide rails in several parts of our village, I still wish to propose priming and painting all wooden guide rails bleak green. This is the same color as the seats and the carpeting of the House of Commons in both parliaments in both England and Canada. I visit the House of Commons in both places. And I still wish to propose one village law requiring all property owners of residential, industrial, institutional, and commercial property with our village to mow their lawns every 7 or 8 days, depending with the weather conditions, or pay the fines and clear charge. Now, I'd like to inform you that the village of Scotia has such a law in place. So I'm urging the village board to pass and enforce this rule. Now, remember I just gave you that piece of paper, Brian?
Yes.
Now, I did turn both of my projects over to you very early January this year. I know you've been very busy, not just with your job as mayor, but your other job. And because our village is celebrating its 100th anniversary, it's officially incorporated the village. I would appreciate getting reply on my 2 projects, and I hope you found it creative. When I propose projects, I try to do my best to be very creative.
Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome. I'm done. Thanks for letting me speak.
Okay,
And
thank
I'm
you.
glad to be back.
All right.
Paul, you can speak now.
Where is it?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So I have some questions and some concerns about the blacktop project on Brookside. Is the same contractor going to do the job, the one that did Menand Road?
No, it's going out to bid.
Oh, it is going out to bid. So there's a scope of work that's created?
Not yet, but it will be.
Okay. I like that idea. That took away my concerns. Okay, do we have any kind of idea? I know we were waiting for the cherry trees to drop leaves so they can hopefully trim them.
Yes.
Okay. All right. But you answered all my questions in one answer.
All right.
Oh, wait, what? Now, tomorrow, I noticed you're going to clean that hood. Now, over the years, I had a lot of hoods cleaned, and they used some pretty evasive chemicals to do that work. The kids should not be there when they're cleaning that hood.
Okay.
I'm serious. They use really evasive chemicals to do that.
I'll talk to them about it.
I mean, maybe because it's going to be so hot, maybe not have the park program tomorrow. I mean, that's an option too. But they shouldn't be anywhere near the pavilion while they're doing that.
I hear you.
I have them.
That's it for me.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep.
depending on what Samantha's plan for tomorrow was, if the guys could go up and move some tables out in the shade.
Will you call Sam about what she thinks for tomorrow?
I think tomorrow's a pizza party, so
No, it's pizza day. I think they switched it because she had two food things back to back, so they're not doing food.
okay.
Okay.
It's all right, they have pizza on Tuesday, not a pizza on Tuesday. Just say.
All the time, was had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
My name is Bill Evans. I live on Wolford Avenue. I know we discussed the paving and the issues on Wolford. I appreciate the fact you're gonna throw some, patch on the bottom of the hill. It's terrible. The top of the hill too, for some craters, right? I've been doing a lot of work in Waterville lately. The Broadway Road going north is horrible also.
So, yeah,
I spoke to Justin Grimes, who is the engineer for Albany County, and supposedly they're gonna be, within the next week, they're gonna be fixing that.
Okay, because
Holy
I saw
cow.
them do some
Not
patching
Albany
the other
County,
day.
DOT.
from Regeneron North, it's a mess. Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Always a horse value.
Even before Regeneron too, right down the highway entrance. That section up there is rough. That's great to hear that they're doing that.
Those
Dawson trucks.
I have a resident that keeps, those one keeps coming in and telling me that his car bottoms out.
You mentioned something about you're doing the rest of the information on the lead pipes in the village. So I still have one property that has lead, but we didn't do it because of the water lines that are gonna be done. I'm not sure where we stand with that. Is it something I should coordinate with Don or ask for questions later?
So there's funding available under the lead line. So we had a meeting today with, Max at the Albany County. What's he with? David?
He's with the Department of Health.
Department of Health. So there's funding out there. So the goal is to address the ones in the south end while we're doing the south end project. There's funding available for it. And then we're going to coordinate with same funding to do the rest of them that are outside the south end project.
Awesome. Last thing, Amsterdam Avenue, between Amsterdam and the next street over. There's that gully hill there. I noticed on the property that I have there, 55, that half of the backyard has sunk about 3.5 feet in the last, actually since this past winter. And I'm looking at all my neighbors up and down. That hill is eroding. So there's that little dead end part of, Hampton, where it doesn't cross over because of the gullies there and stuff. That's dropped about 8 inches of pavement. Just want to bring it aware. We're bringing fill in to address our property, the neighbors next door. We're gonna make the yards correct, but everyone's got an issue that the hill is eroding down. It's sinking. You can see it, like, I'm gonna use the word fault line. You can actually see it. Goes right down behind a dozen of those homes up there on the top side, just to make you aware. If anybody else brings it
Do
up.
we own that? Don?
We own, we own one section where Hampton Street is, like between, when you go Hampton and
Between
Hampton,
51 and 55.
right, that, we own that street there. That's the
So the
dead end part of the street is sinking into the
So the street itself or the beyond that?
The street, about 20 feet out from where the blacktop ends, is down 8 inches. And you can
I'll
see
look at
that
it.
crack line that just goes right up through all the houses. Bring it aware. I'd be happy to discuss it, have
I'll meet
someone
with
meet
Mike
there or
tomorrow.
whatever, but just thought I'd let you know. Thank you, by the way.
Thanks, Bill. Mike?
Three things. One of which I thought the hood was to be cleaned last week. Was it be done before the concert started?
We were trying, they couldn't schedule.
So if there are concerns with the chemicals, to clean this tomorrow, and we're gonna cook on that tomorrow night,
it'll be, they're not like they're even using chemical.
I think it's just power wash.
It's
It's
power wash.
steamed.
just guess. Second thing, you spoke to National Grid about the trees. They said that there was a problem with electrical outages with the trees. There's a tree that I've talked to National Grid multiple times about that's gonna fall. And they sent their guy out and said, well, yeah, it's gonna fall, but they're not gonna do anything about it. So if you're gonna talk to them.
Can you email me the address?
Sure.
Yeah.
And the last thing is, whoever the communications with the Evergreen, when we get that call that there's a problem,
There's a huge delay the time the call comes in,
We've been
and
trying.
it says it's a spam call. It displays spam. And it drives Susan out of her mind.
It's not fun.
Thanks, Mike.
Paul, you have something? Paul?
Just for Mike's verification, when we had the hoods cleaned on the lines in the hotel, we used them that night to cook on. They clean it really good when they're done to get rid of all the chemicals.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
Anyone else? Okay, we don't have anything for executive, so motion to.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night, Ryan.
We'll see you soon, Bill.
I'm,
Gonna see you tomorrow at the concerts.
no place to park. I don't like to hear them listen to this kind of music.
Okay. There you go.
Right now, you mean? I don't know why.
No, I don't.